Hello! Today we are talking about how offboarding is just as important as your onboarding process when you're a VA working one-on-one with clients. So onboarding, as you probably know, is bringing clients into your business through proposals, lead capture forms, questionnaires, kick-off calls, contracts, payments, all of that front-end business procedural parts, and actually starting work with the client. So that's your onboarding process. So you've nailed that right at the beginning. But how about your offboarding? How can you make that better? So offboarding is your goodbye, farewell to your clients. But what you're trying to do, the strategy behind it, is leave the door ajar to make it very easy for that client to come back to you for other services and actually retain that client. And I don't mean necessarily on a retainer. I mean retain that client in your services to purchase more from you in the future. So there's a couple of things that you can do. So first of all, of course, you want to make a big deal about saying thank you to them. You want to include a feedback form, testimonial request. I would say at that point, put a little consent box in that they can tick, or even just, a statement to say, yes, you can use my name, business name, testimonial for marketing purposes, or maybe you want to say that you can use it, but actually, remove any identification from it. However you feel is appropriate, and you can word that correctly for what suits your business. Most people will say, yeah, use my testimonial, that's absolutely fine, because they enjoy the backlinks through to their business as well. But it's nice to just check it's respectful, and it means that you they know that you appreciate them and that you respect their confidentiality. A lot of people don't like to share that they're doing certain things, so to have a testimonial, it's great to just get a little bit of consent that you can share that with permission. So once you've done that, you want to start introducing them, and not straight away. So I'm thinking leave it more sort of 4 to 6 weeks. Talk about a referral scheme at that point. If you don't have one, it doesn't have to be something all singing and dancing. It can literally be just letting them know that you offer £50 off if they do X, Y, and Z, or 10% off their service if they do X, Y, and Z, or refer you on, or whatever it is. Think about what would suit your clients and what they would jump at to actually refer you to somebody else. Now, of course, if you're wonderful at what you do, you're going to be getting hopefully referrals by word of mouth anyway. But sometimes it's just about nudging people into doing it, and the best way to do that is to give them something. Now, what you're doing by giving them something is also offering them a chance to come back to you as a client as well. So it's sort of a win-win for both parties, the new client and the ex-client or retained client that we've got in front of us here that we're saying goodbye to. So there's not a sort of one size all for this. It's whatever you think would suit your business. This is the time to introduce that thought to the client. So you've said goodbye, they've paid their final invoice. A few weeks later, give them some breathing time, check in on them, and say, this is details of my referral scheme. So what you're trying to do with that is play into some of your metrics. Now, the 2 metrics that I'm going to talk about today are your customer acquisition cost and your customer lifetime value. And those 2 are sort of best friends when we come to looking at some really basic business metrics. So your customer acquisition cost is exactly that. How much does it cost to acquire a client, to gain a client? So this is your time, money spent on social media marketing. Maybe you have a social media manager. Maybe you do everything yourself and it's taking time away from your chargeable time. All of this plays in to your customer acquisition cost. So how much is it costing you to find that client? Now, this is a really easy metric to get if you're using Facebook ads, for example, because you'll have a click-through rate and it'll be a cost per click. So you might know exactly to the pence how much it's costing you. But you can get a much more general idea when you first gain a client. You want to ask them where they found you, how did they hear about you? And then you can dig a little bit more into how much time you're spending, how much money you're spending, and start to gain an idea, an understanding of how much it's actually costing you to get this client. Now, of course, then you might uncover the fact that it's costing you thousands to gain a client that's only paying you £500, but that's a really important thing to discover. Now, I could talk about that forever, that's part of what I do, but just as an introduction to business metrics and your offboarding, this is what you're trying to reduce. So can you see that client retention means that you don't then have to pay for another client. So client acquisition cost will decrease. But what you'll do is increase your customer lifetime value. So the CLV is your customer lifetime value. This is how much a client pays you across their whole lifetime of working with you. So again, it's not just a one-off cost, that £500 that they pay you. They might come back to you for something for £200. Then they might put you on a retainer at £1,000 a month. So their customer lifetime value is getting better and better as we go. At the same time, you're not having to acquire a new client each time that you contract with this current client. So you can see how those two are interlinked. And that's why looking at your offboarding is crucial, because that's your chance to really get your message across about referrals and retaining clients once they've already worked with you and once you're happy. Now, of course, you want to look at your feedback form. If there was anything really amiss, you should know by the time you get to offboarding what sort of scores you're going to come out with on your feedback form, what sort of comments you're going to get. Nothing should be a shock, and I would suggest if it is a shock, you've missed a massive step beforehand by checking in with them when they're an active client. But nothing should be a shock, so you should know if they're an appropriate client to approach about a referral scheme or maybe coming back to them. So once you've gone through that process, they might not be ready to do something straight away, and I would say most of the time they won't be, but you want to just keep yourself in their mind. So every month, few weeks, whatever it is, add them to a mailing list if that's appropriate. Just check in with them, okay? So maybe leave it a couple of months, check in and say, how did this project turn out in the end? You know, if there's something that you can pick up on, and just ask them if there's anything that they need further support with. Again, it might be that they don't need anything now. It might even be in 12 months or 2 years' time. You want to still be in their mind to come back to you. And that's the point in offboarding. Reducing your customer acquisition costs and increasing your customer lifetime value.